You think your prescription is between you and your doctor. It isn't. Behind every pill bottle is an empire, not a conspiracy. An empire. And empires don't hide. They just make themselves invisible through complexity. When your doctor hands you that script, you see medicine. 3 boxes, some numbers, a pharmacy. What you don't see is the machine. This is the medical historian, where medicine, history, power, and money collide. Because your prescription isn't just a medical decision. It is a financial decision made inside an empire you never see. To understand how we got here, to a world where a $10 drug costs hundreds at the pharmacy counter, where a life-saving medication is there 1 month and not covered the next, you have to go back further than you think. Not to insurance, not to HMOs, but to the moment when medicine stopped being a craft and became capital. Go back to 1906, the Pure Food and Drug Act. Everyone remembers it as progress, safety, regulation, protecting patients from snake oil. That's partly true. But it was also the moment the door closed. Before 1906, medicine was distributed. Local herbalists compounded remedies. Barber surgeons learned by apprenticeship. Healers used plants, minerals, trial and error. Prices were low. Access was local. No one owned the cure. Then chemistry changed everything. Scientists learned to isolate compounds, to synthesize them, to own them. A molecule could be patented. A patent could be controlled. A controlled molecule could be priced. The Pure Food and Drug Act didn't just regulate drugs, it centralized them. Only officially approved medicines counted. Only officially trained physicians could dispense them. Everything else, the herbalists, the healers, the knowledge that had worked for centuries, became unscientific. Who decided what was scientific? The people who could afford to fund research, the people who could patent molecules, corporate capital. Medicine didn't become safer because of regulation. It became controlled. And control is where profit begins. By the 1920s, pharmaceutical companies had flooded medical schools with funding. They shaped curricula. They told doctors which treatments were modern and which were primitive. Natural remedies, the ones you couldn't patent, disappeared from education. A generation of doctors was trained to believe that real medicine came in a bottle with a corporate label. Now pharmaceutical companies faced a new opportunity, but they also faced a new problem. Go back to 1945, penicillin, the miracle drug. Antibiotics could cure infections that once killed millions. For a moment, it looked like disease was about to be conquered. Pharmaceutical companies invested, they scaled production, they imagined a world where infection was solved, then they realized something. A cured patient is a lost customer. Forever. That's not just a saying. That's the entire architecture of modern medicine. If you cure an infection, that person walks away. They buy 1 course of antibiotics, then they're done. But if you don't cure the disease, if you manage it, if you create a chronic condition that requires lifelong treatment, that's a customer for 40 years, that's revenue for life. So pharma made a choice. They didn't explicitly say it, but the decision was clear in how they invested. Billions went into drugs you take forever. Cholesterol drugs, blood pressure drugs, antidepressants, diabetes drugs. Almost nothing went into cures. Why would you cure a disease when you could monetize it? The industry pivoted from healing to management, from cure to dependence. Now the foundation was laid, but the empire needed structure. Go back to 1993. The Clinton healthcare plan failed. Everyone remembers it as a political defeat. But buried in the ashes was a gift to pharmaceutical companies. Massive patent protections, longer exclusivity, stronger IP barriers, higher prices justified by innovation. Drug prices didn't gradually rise. They exploded. And that's when something brilliant happened. Pharmacy benefit managers appeared. On paper, they were created to manage costs, to negotiate prices, to protect patients. In reality, they became the toll booths of the prescription world. They would tell pharma, "We'll put your drug on our preferred list if you give us a rebate." Pharma would agree, but here's the trick. They'd raise the list price even higher to accommodate the rebate. So the uninsured paid full price. The insured paid co-pays. The PBMs and insurers kept the difference. The system now had 3 layers of profit extraction, all built on top of each other. By 2003, Medicare Part D completed the trap. Seniors were handed to this system with one rule: no price negotiation allowed. Pharma prices soared. PBM rebates hit $200 billion a year. Insurers denied 1 in 5 claims. The architecture was perfect. Your doctor writes a prescription. The PBM intercepts it. They say, try this cheaper drug first. Not because it's better, because it's more. Not because it's better, because it's more profitable for them. Your doctor appeals, more paperwork, more delay. Eventually, many patients give up. That's not a glitch. That's the design working. Now add the final layer: finance, BlackRock, Vanguard, private equity. They own pieces of pharma companies, insurers, PBMs, and pharmacy chains. Simultaneously, your prescription becomes a financial instrument, modeled on spreadsheets, traded on Wall Street. Your refill schedule is a projected cash flow. The system doesn't want you dead. That's bad for business. It just wants you dependent, chronically medicated, perpetually sick, unable to question the bills. Most people never see this. They feel the friction, the denials, the delays, the confusion, but they don't see the pattern. They blame themselves. I must have filled out the form wrong. I must have picked the wrong plan. But confusion is the point. When responsibility is distributed across 1,000 companies, no one is accountable. When every step requires paperwork and delay, many people simply give up. That surrender is the empire working. Your prescription is not neutral. It is structured. Your medication history is not just a record of illness. It is a revenue history for others. The hidden empire behind your drugs doesn't need you to understand it to function. In fact, it works better when you don't. But history offers a different path. If you learn how this empire was built, not just today, but across a century of design, you become harder to exploit. You can question denials instead of accepting them. You can ask who profits from each choice. You can seek out clinicians that prioritize your health over their balance sheet, even if it takes more effort. You cannot step completely outside the empire, but you can stop mistaking its rules for natural law. History doesn't repeat in healthcare, but it rhymes loudly. The same logic that once turned sick patients into lifetime revenue has only gotten more sophisticated. The buildings, brands, and buzzwords have changed. The underlying economy has not. The only real difference is whether you recognize it in time. If this gave you a new insight, hit subscribe. History has the answers.